Age 62. This is the trap the system was built around. 2/3 of Americans fall into this trap. Or maybe they don't. Maybe the trap is actually waiting for you. That's exactly what's frustrating about it. What is financially offered to you carries a behavioral implication. There's a discussion in a Reddit thread about this. Even the Social Security Administration once developed a calculator to help you make this decision. Then what did they do? They removed it because people were misusing it. Think about that for a moment. The government developed a tool to help people with the biggest financial decision of their economic lives, tracked that people were systematically making wrong moves with it, and said, let's just remove it. That's why today I'm going to walk you through 7 real reasons why waiting to claim Social Security at 62 can actually make sense. Not because it's always the right move. The math side of this is far more complex than what's commonly said. Your life expectancy, your spouse, your portfolio, and even the stock market all have a seat at this table. First, let's build the model. I'll use a fictional character. His name is Owen. He earned $90,000 in his final working year, a realistic upper middle class income. Owen has 3 options. He claims at 62 and receives approximately $2,238 per month. He waits until his full retirement age of 67 and receives $3,198 per month. Or he delays until 70 and receives $3,966 per month. The classic break-even analysis says you need to find the scenario where the most money ends up in your pocket. Simple, right? Claim early, get a lower payment but over many more years. Or wait, get a higher payment but for fewer years. The crossover point, the break-even point, lands somewhere in the early 80s. The crossover point, the break-even point, lands somewhere in the early 80s. The Social Security Administration calculates the average life expectancy of someone who has reached age 62 to be approximately 84 years. Not 79, 84. If you made it to 62 without a major health catastrophe, the actuarial tables say you'll likely live about 22 more years. So if Owen lives to 84 and claims at 62, he collects roughly $615,000 total. If he waits until 67, he receives fewer months of payment and ends up collecting less overall. Claiming early comes out ahead by roughly $72,000. So you're thinking, all right, claim at 62 then. Hold on a second. Shorten the life expectancy by just 3 years. Drop it from 84 to 81. Almost immediately, waiting until full retirement age becomes the better option. Drop it 6 years to 78, and claiming at 62 versus 67 becomes nearly identical. The problem isn't early versus late. The problem is that you don't know when you're going to die. Nobody does. And that uncertainty is the core of the entire game. Now let's talk about the thing nobody mentions, the cost of living adjustment or COLA. In the traditional break-even model, people set COLA to 0. But every year, Social Security payments increase with inflation. If your base payment is higher, your COLA increases are also higher. It's exactly the same logic as compound interest. A 3% increase on $3,966 is a very different number than a 3% increase on $2,238. Over a lifetime, that difference becomes enormous. When you factor in realistic COLA projections into the model, the difference between waiting until 70 versus claiming at 62 grows to $246,000 in total. Not $70,000, $246,000. That changes the decision entirely. Now, with all that context, let's look at 7 situations where claiming at 62 actually makes genuine sense. Reason 1. Your health is genuinely poor or your family history is unfavorable. If your father died at 73, your grandfather at 71, and you've already had a heart attack, the break-even math shifts dramatically. If you can afford to wait for a higher monthly payment but won't live long enough to benefit, it serves no purpose. If you want to get value from the system you paid into for decades, you need to turn on the tap. Now. Reason 2. You want to actually enjoy retirement while you can. This gets dismissed as an emotional justification, but that's unfair. Spending patterns in retirement follow a predictable curve. The early active years are high, the slower middle years are lower, and the final years are very low. The money you can have at 63 is not the same as the money you can have at 79. Your ability to enjoy it is different. Think of a man who spent his entire career deferring satisfaction. He retired at 72 with more money than he ever imagined. He spent the first 2 years of retirement going to medical appointments. The money was there, the life wasn't. This isn't a math problem, it's a timing problem. Reason 3. Your spouse can benefit from spousal benefits once you claim. If your spouse didn't work long enough to earn their own Social Security benefit, or their benefit is significantly lower than yours, they can receive up to 50% of your benefit at your full retirement age. But that door doesn't open until you file. Filing at 62 starts that analysis earlier for your household income. For couples with a large income gap, this can flip the entire calculation. The advisor tells the higher earner wait until 70. But nobody mentions that the spouse has been at home for 20 years with minimal work history. Years of spousal income sitting on the table waiting. Classic. Reason 4. Your spouse has a serious health condition and earns a high benefit. This is one of the least common but financially critical reasons. If your spouse is a high earner and has a serious health condition, their lifespan may be shorter than average. When your spouse passes away, you receive their retirement benefit as a survivor benefit. The strategy is this: file for your own benefit now at 62, collect a smaller amount while both of you are alive, then switch to the larger survivor benefit when your spouse passes. You collect something while both are alive, and then step up to the larger income when the time comes. Let's put this into a concrete example. Sandra is 62. Her 65-year-old husband, due to severe heart disease, qualified for a high benefit of $3,600 per month. Sandra's benefit at 62 is $2,100. If she waits until 67, she gets $2,900. Sounds good, but her husband dies at 69. Had she waited, she would have gone 7 years without collecting a single dollar of her own benefit before switching to the survivor benefit. Instead, by filing at 62, she collected roughly $176,000 over those 7 years before transitioning to the survivor benefit. The tap was there. She just needed to turn it on. Reason 5. The stock market crashes. This is almost never discussed outside of academic Social Security research. If you're drawing from your portfolio in retirement and the market drops 40 or 50%, you're forced to sell assets at the bottom just to cover living expenses.